Well, Stella Yee is a former Labor candidate for Menzies. She's running again for the seat, this time, though, as an independent, and she joins us now. Really nice to have you here.
Thank you, Leo. Nice to be here.
So, from the outset, why did you decide to stand as an independent at this election?
Well, it wasn't an easy decision, and it is really through talking to people in my community, and you know the feeling that the major parties are not looking after them is quite palpable, and people are quite frustrated. They're quite disillusioned. And some of them suggested to me, why don't you run as an independent? We'll vote for you, So basically, it's conversations with the community over the last year. I was just happily doing my job, doing the magazine, and in that course of doing stories, I talked to a lot of people, and this was the feedback that I got. But of course, I didn't act on it. I'm like, okay, it wasn't something that I seriously considered until I guess towards the end of 2024. When it's like, okay, it's starting to get real. If I wanted to do it, I have to make a decision. And even then, it was not easy. I guess I feel that this election is quite critical to the future of this country. And in fact, one of my older friends said that, she's so, she's so, I guess, disappointed with what's going on in politics that she might not even vote. And for me, I'm like, oh, okay, this is serious, and I got to think about it seriously. So yeah, that's why I decided to run, is because people in the community basically, let me know how they feel about what's going on, and they need a choice, and they don't want to vote for either of the major parties.
It's an interesting comment that you just made there regarding how some people are that disillusioned that they're even considering not voting. I think, it's an interesting comment that's coming up after just one term of a Labor government as well, right? Where we're into what is still relatively a sort of fresh government here. Are there any things that you've seen in politics, particularly over the last 3 years, that you think are disappointing people, maybe even disappointing yourself?
Well, I think after the last 9 years of the coalition government, we were all very relieved. I think when Labor came in, we thought, okay, the country can get back on track on a course that we all agreed to and we voted for. And over the last 3 years, yeah, there are world events, bigger than just Australia. But within Australia, I think the number of people who are struggling financially to make ends meet, it changes the way people view things. When you're struggling and then you hear politicians talking about things that are not even related to what you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, I think that is quite palpable, that is turning people off, and people are wanting more climate action. They are not seeing that. And I guess the cost of living is where people are really, really feeling it. There's not enough housing. There's not enough ways in order to make people, feel less stressed about just making it through every day.
Now, I'm interested in terms of your background. As we mentioned there in the intro, you ran for Labor back in 2019. You got a swing towards you as well at that election, or it's a swing towards Labor. I'm curious, what kind of made you break with the party and go independent here? Was it just at the time? Was it in 2019 that you decided you didn't want to do anything more with Labor? Was it more recently?
It was a fairly recent decision. I joined the party in 2016 after seeing what Tony Abbott and his government did, to this country. And I'm like, wow, okay, just voting for Labor is not quite enough. Maybe I ought to join the party. And I have always admired what Gough Whitlam and his government did for this country. It was very transformative. Same as Hawke and the Keating governments, they really transformed the country. And so I thought, yeah, I would be very happy to be a part of a party that has done so much good for so many people, and it has changed lives for generations now, with all the free university education that have benefited people pretty much everybody who's over 60 now in Australia. So that was, I guess, my motivation for joining the Labour Party. And I guess more recently, I feel that I don't understand some of the decisions the current government is making on some of the more important areas like climate action, for instance, and even on listening to the community with the gambling reform. It is something that the people, people want. And I have a background in social work, and you would know that, when you have a problem area in one aspect of your life, it affects a lot of your life, right? So that, that reform, I thought, was something that people wanted, and the government didn't go through with even the recommendations from their own inquiries. So yeah, so I was disappointed with a lot of some of these decisions. And then I guess seeing what Fatima Payman went through, the whole Gaza issue, I guess that sort of made me think maybe I could not stay in the party and have my own voice as well. So yeah, so it wasn't an easy decision, but I just felt like maybe I need to be my own person and not be in a party where I could not speak out on issues that are important to me.
Now, you're using aqua in your campaigning here. I know that there's going to be those comments, are you a teal independent? Would you use that label?
Yeah, so this is my favorite color, and I have used this aqua color for a while. I'll just do a bit of show and tell. This was my flyer when I ran for council in Manningham in 2016. That was the young me. And then this was in 2020 when I ran for council as well. So I have used this color for a while, so I'm still very happy with it. So that's what I'm going to be continuing to use.
All right. It was interesting looking at Menzies in 2022 when it was Naomi Oakley who was the Labor candidate there, and there was an extraordinary swing away from the Liberals. They were very, very close to losing it at that election. Now, that seat, there's been redistributions, obviously, but the margin there is only about less than 1% for Labor. What makes you in a better position to win that seat than Labor?
Well, I feel that the world has changed a fair bit in the last year. We've seen, extraordinary events. I have not seen the world in such a tumultuous and uncertain place as today, what we've seen. So people are all wanting something different, because currently the two-party system is, I don't think is providing the answers for people. And I'm running to give people a choice. I hope to win. I'm running to win. But even if I don't get there, at least I feel like I have done, my bit for democracy, which is giving people a choice, right? Because if you don't have independents running, then you're down to the same two things, right? You either vote here or here, and then and you're also, even when you're voting, you're not very happy with it because they are not exactly the answers you're looking for, right? So I'm offering myself as a choice for people, as an independent, as a community person who have been involved in this community for ever since I moved here.
And just on the issue of policy, as we've discussed, former Labor candidate, but more broadly away from the major parties, what really sets you apart in terms of your platform that you're running on and the policies you're looking at?
Well, I can say that my platform, is based on what I hear in the community. People want help with the cost of living crisis. People want better access to healthcare. I've heard so many stories of people going to Box Hill Hospital, the emergency department, that have waited for hours and hours. I mean, we experienced it ourselves when my husband fell down the stairs, and we were there for, I think, 4 or 5 hours and was not seen because it was obviously maybe not, critical enough. And we actually just end up going home and then went to the GP the next day. So access to healthcare is a concern here. And there's also concern about climate action. People here also, want more to be done. And affordable housing. Manningham, the city that I'm more familiar with, because now we also take in Whitehorse, have got very low number of affordable housing available, and those social housing, for instance, and very low affordable housing as well. So we need to work on increasing those housing for people. Honestly, I don't know why it is so difficult to ensure every major development have got a certain percentage of housing that's made affordable, but that is seem to be happening.
Yeah, I think you've touched on something that's going to be that key election issue there, housing. Just finally on the issue of climate change, which you mentioned before, it's something that independents had a lot of success running on in 2022. Do you think that, given there are a lot of other issues with cost of living and housing, do you think people might not be focusing on climate change as much, or are you hearing from the community that that's still an issue that they want their MP to be addressing?
I think climate action or climate change is the bigger issue. The immediate issue, of course, is housing, the people's basic needs. But the bigger issue, the longer term issue is how do we ensure this earth is livable for the future generations? And those things need to, those actions need to happen now. It's not like waiting until the future to address it. So I guess for me, intergenerational equity is an important thing. And we need to start looking at policies where, where we are passing a world which is as livable as what we have enjoyed. Because I was just thinking about it, my children will live until 2080, and my grandchildren will live until the year 2100. If we go by life expectancy, and I am worried. I don't know what kind of world they will be inheriting, what kind of, climate and weather patterns, now that we've seen things are really kind of hairy everywhere. It didn't even matter what season you're in, there are fires. So I think climate action is still an important agenda item.
All right. Well, best of luck to you in your campaign. We'll keep following it closely. Really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Leo. Talk to you another time.